Good evening and welcome to Athens City Council. It's Monday, April 22nd, 2019 at 7:01 p.m. Tonight we have a special session because of deadlines approaching for some of our ordinances. We will be having that special session and reading ordinances for the third, and we also have some second reading ordinances as well. After that, which should go fairly quickly, we'll adjourn that part of the meeting, and then we'll be going into our committees. And so I'll be having the Committee of the Whole, Transportation, and City and Safety Services. What's different tonight about business session, we're reading the ordinances, but we're not having, as we would on a regular business evening, the communications, the reports from other people. And also what's different is that usually at the end of our regular business meetings, we have an opportunity for citizens to speak on agenda items not covered on the agenda. So I just wanted to warn anyone here tonight that if they are here to make a short presentation, this would not be the night that you would be able to do that. So I didn't want you to wait and be disappointed. We'll be doing that again on May 6th, so just so you're aware of it. So our first item of business tonight is establishing the quorum. All council members are present. And we'll now move directly into ordinances for third reading. Ordinance 2619 is an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to enter into a 5-year contract to purchase body-worn cameras and tasers for the Athens Police Department. This is introduced by Councilmember Butler.
Thank you, President Isley. At this moment, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Ordinance 2619.
Second.
Thank you. Quite simply, this particular ordinance empowers the City Service Safety Director, as noted, to enter into this agreement. It is a 5-year contract. It would cost approximately $214,000 at $179 from the general fund. If you recall from our committee meeting, we had the Chief of Police present for an extensive presentation regarding this, and he offered many points and details regarding the benefits to this particular system. It'll integrate with, it's interactive technology, so it'll integrate well with the tasers, as well as the body cameras will integrate well with the sirens and the holsters. It's also including training, and recertification is included in the contract, as well as unlimited storage. I was really impressed by the chief's homework into this. He researched it extensively, so I don't believe that we're entering into this lightly. I think this is a system that, again, with safety being paramount, this will enhance the safety of our department as well as the general public. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. We have a motion and second for approval of this ordinance. Are there any other questions or comments from council members or administration? Yes, Councilmember Katsas.
Yes, thank you. Just thinking about the conversation that we had a few years ago about this similar technology, I like how much this has advanced over the last few years. It seems like it's pretty slick how it really integrates, and also it's going to offset some of our tasks that we currently have. So when you look at the bottom line price, some of that is going to be deducted from savings that we'll have in the storage of that data. Thank you.
Thanks. Yes, Councilmember McGee.
I just wanted to applaud both the mayor and the chief for presenting this to council. I think it's an issue. Its time has come. It's a reasonable price. It's a fantastic service. I think it would do wonders towards establishing or reestablishing police citizen confidence in our justice system. So, and I think it will save the city money on insurance eventually, because I just think in the long run it's a very good idea. So, thank you.
And do we have any comments or questions from the audience? All right. We'll vote on this then. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance 2717 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to submit an application and enter into an agreement with the Ohio Development Services Agency for a Community Development Block Grant CDBG program, Critical Infrastructure Grant Program for program year 2019, introduced by Councilmember Butler.
Thank you, President Isley. I would like to make a motion to adopt Ordinance 2719.
Second.
Thank you. We had, again, a presentation from HABCAP in committee meeting to address the needs there and the efforts to move forward with CDBG grant proposals and ideas. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and second for approval of 2719. Any other comments or questions from council members, the mayor? Okay. Any comments or questions from the audience? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is approved.
Thank you.
Ordinance 2818 is an ordinance amending Ordinance 2318, authorizing design engineering of the Stimson Avenue Improvements Project number 315, introduced by Councilmember McGee.
Thank you, Chairwoman Isley. I would first, in introducing this, request council to suspend the rules since this apparently the application deadline is May 31st and the ordinance doesn't have an emergency clause on it, is my understanding. Is that
I
correct?
think we're on third reading, so we're okay.
Oh, okay.
It'll be approved, so no need to suspend.
Okay. Well, the purpose of this ordinance is to allow the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Transportation Improvement District to obtain funding for improvements on Stimson Avenue. That at the current time is scheduled to be a fairly major project, which will be somewhat expensive, and I applaud any effort that the mayor or the administration would make in obtaining outside funding. So this ordinance would allow the mayor to do so. So I would move council to pass this ordinance.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. And I believe there is one ordinance later on, Councilmember McGee, that does need to be suspended when we get down to the second readings. So that'll be later, also for the Stimson Avenue, I believe. So
Thank you.
So this one we have a motion and second. Do we have any other comments or questions from council members, administration? Yes, Councilmember Katsas.
Just a reminder, I will be abstaining from this vote.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions from the audience? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And abstentions, yes, one.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Ordinance, the motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance 3019 is an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to enter into an LPA state project agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation for a bridge deck overlay project within the corporation boundary on U.S. State Route 33 and declaring an emergency, introduced by Councilmember Katsas.
President Isley, thank you. I would like to make a motion to adopt 3019.
Second.
And this is just straightforward, we'd call this boilerplate legislation where ODOT is doing some work within the city limits. This is actually working on both of the bridges on US 33 over East State Street. The project is tentatively slated to start in October of 2019, and ODOT assumes 100% of the cost.
Okay. We have a motion and second for approval of 3019. Any comments or questions from council members, mayor, audience? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries, and the ordinance has been approved. Ordinance 3119 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to submit an application and enter into an agreement with ODOT for a Transportation Alternatives Program grant for an Athens Uptown Area Improvements Project and declaring an emergency. And this is introduced by Councilmember Katsas.
President Isley, thank you. I would like to make a motion to adopt 3119.
Second.
And this is a TAP grant, a Transportation Alternatives Program grant. This is a funding arm that is administered by ODOT, and this is looking at enhancements on the streets in the uptown area that run perpendicular to Court Street. So that would include East Union, Washington, and State Street. Specific details are not haven't really been developed at this point, but as we move on, those will be hashed out.
Okay. We have a motion and second for approval of 3119. Any comments or questions? Yes, Mayor Patterson.
At this point, the concept is not that dissimilar from what you see now on West Union in between Congress and Court Street. The improvements that we made down in the fire-affected area, so it would be similar to that. Potentially having more curb bump outs to shorten the distance that someone is crossing over at the intersections of Court and Washington, as well as State Street, and some beautification features as well.
Thank you. All right. Any other comments or questions from the audience? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance 3219 is an ordinance authorizing 2019 street paving and repairs, introduced by Councilmember Kotsis.
President Nisley, thank you. At this moment, I would like to make a motion to table Ordinance 3219.
Second.
And not to throw anybody into any alarm, this is just basically, and this is because of special session, really. The list for street paving, we're still waiting on that. Our engineer is still working through that list, and we would like to have a good comprehensive idea of where this money is being spent in the city before it goes forward. The actual passage date, if we had not had special session, would be in early May. So this, we will have this information on our streets tour on Thursday, and then we'll revisit this at the beginning of May at our first council session.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion and a second to table 3219. And are there any other comments? Mayor Patterson.
I just want to say it feels appropriate to table this at this point in time because of the street tour being this Thursday at noon, from noon to 4 p.m., I believe, or noon to 3. But that way, with a list in hand, that council will be able to at least identify what the streets are currently on the plan. And as council is well aware, as I was when I was on council, is that, that list, there's the primary list of streets and there's alternatives, but a lot is predicated upon the bid that comes in for asphalt and the company laying the asphalt to see how far, once again, we can stretch our citizens' taxpayer dollars for the street improvement. So, engineer, or Director for Engineering and Public Works, Bob Hetty, has a lot of things on his plate right now, and so he's been working on it. He's got the list, but he just needs to finalize that and have that for council prior to your street tour.
Great. Okay. Yes. Councilmember Reisner.
One question. Are we still working together with Ohio University?
This year, Ohio University hasn't come to us and asked about any collaboration or joint purchasing. Really, it's joint purchasing power to do it that way. At this point, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of. I think that was a great program, or a great approach last year.
I do too.
It wasn't a program, but it was a great way to, again, stretch the dollars, that go
Exactly.
into the cost. And certainly helpful when we have more than just the city having to do repaving.
Mm-hmm. And I think we've got a clarification that there is some cost share this year.
Is there some this year?
So it's in the line of the ordinance that you'll be able to see when you read it. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks for the questions. Okay. Any other comments or questions from the audience? All right, so we have a motion and second for tabling. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay. And this ordinance has been tabled then. We'll see it again shortly. Ordinance 3319 is an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to enter into contracts for interior enhancements to the municipal parking garage, and this is project number 326, introduced by Councilmember Katsas.
President Nisley, thank you. I would like to make a motion to adopt Ordinance 3319.
Second.
And this is a $630,000 enhancement project to the parking garage. This is all in beautification, improving wayfinding, improving safety by adding additional lighting, lumens to the with new bulbs. Also lowering costs with LED systems as opposed to the compact fluorescents that we're currently using. Opening the stairwells, new signage on the outside of the parking garage for wayfinding. We're also looking at color to start to mark the different levels and make it easier for you to find your vehicle inside the parking garage. Streamlining internal systems, that would be moving the change machine and adding additional change machines. And then also running in line with the essence of Athens, adding art elements inside the parking garage.
Okay. We have a motion and second for approval of 3319. Any other comments or questions from council members or administration or the audience? Okay, move forward with a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance 3419 is an ordinance closing a portion of Court Street on Friday, June 7th, August 9th, and September 20, 2019 for a cruise-in, introduced by Councilmember Katsas.
President Nisley, thank you. I would like to, at this time, make a motion to adopt 3419.
Second.
And this is the Lions Club that runs 3 car cruise-ins on Court Street on Friday evenings on June 7th, August 9th, and September 20th. The part of the street closure is Court Street between Washington and State Street. So it does not impact vehicular traffic except for on that one block of Court Street.
Okay. We have a motion and second for approval of 3419. Any comments or questions? Council, admin, audience? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance 3519 is an ordinance closing a portion of Union Street between Court and Congress on Saturday, August 17th from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. for an Uptown art event, introduced by Councilmember Katsas.
President Nisley, I would like to make a motion to adopt 3519.
Second.
And this is the second annual Athens Community Arts and Music Festival, and this is put on by AMAC, our Athens Municipal Arts Commission, and this is on Saturday, August 17th from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. would be the street closure, which is West Union Street between Congress and Court Street.
Okay. We have a motion and second for approval of 3519. Comments or questions from admin, council members, or audience? Okay. All those-
I'm sorry, I have one more.
Oh.
I would just like to thank AMAC for doing the work to put on this event.
Municipal
Yes.
Arts Commission, it's a lot of work, yeah. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance 3619 is an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code Section 13.04.10, unnecessary noise, on Union Street and contiguous property to Union Street on August 17th, 2019 for an Uptown art event, introduced by Councilmember Katsas.
President Nisley, thank you. I would like to make a motion to adopt 3619.
Second.
And this is just to suspend our noise ordinance that we have, so that the Athens Community Arts and Music Festival doesn't get in trouble.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, how those artists are.
Okay. All right, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance has been approved. Ordinance 3719 is an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code, Chapter 11.04, vending, peddling, and soliciting to allow vending in a designated area on Saturday, August 17th, 2019 during an Uptown Art event. Introduced by Councilmember Katsas.
President Nicely, I would like to adopt, or I'd like to make a motion to adopt Ordinance 3719. And this is just to suspend our vending and soliciting peddling codes during that time for the Athens Community Arts and Music Festival.
Okay. We have a motion and second for approval. Any comments or questions from council or admin or audience? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance 3819 is an ordinance declaring property located at 7055 Blackburn Road no longer needed for a municipal purpose and authorizing the mayor to sell said property to another political subdivision. This is introduced by Councilmember Reisner.
Thank you, Madam President. This ordinance will allow the mayor to sell this particular piece of property, which is up near Kimes Nursing Home, for $124,000 to the Athens Metropolitan Housing Authority, which is the political subdivision that's referenced here, and who is also already the people who are the organization who's managing the property for municipal housing. And this is essentially just makes sense to give it to or sell it to the people who are actually running and managing the property rather than having the city own it and then having someone else manage it for us.
Okay. So we have a motion and second for approval of 3819. Any other comments or questions? Yes, Councilmember Grace.
I just wanted to mention again that the proceeds of this sale will be used by the city for furthering low-income housing and affordable housing programs. And we're researching, looking into the different ways that this specific money is allowed to be spent, what types of projects we could do with that. But I think it's important to keep in mind that these are community development funds, and they will remain in that program.
Okay, good point. Yes, Mayor Patterson.
I'm glad that you brought that up, Member Grace. We did hear back from the state in terms of being able to possibly use that money for zero interest or low interest down payments for homes, and we found out that we cannot use the money for that. But there are other things we can use the money for, such as home repairs, sidewalk repairs, and a number of different repairs. And so we're looking at the metric that we'll use for using that money in that for that purpose. It can also be used for critical infrastructure repairs for CDBG.
Okay, good.
So we are exploring it.
Well, good. Thank you. Thank you all, Councilmember Grace and the administration for investigating that and moving it forward to keep it in line with how it's intended to be used. All right, we have a motion. Are there any other comments or questions? Okay, from the audience? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance 3919 is an ordinance declaring property located at 7065 Blackburn Road no longer needed for a municipal purpose and authorizing permission to donate the property to another political subdivision. Introduced by Councilmember Reisner.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we adopt 3919.
Second.
This goes hand in hand with the preceding ordinance. The donation here again is to the Athens Metropolitan Housing Authority because of certain rules that deals with low-cost housing. They're not allowed to purchase contiguous properties, which this would be. So in order to dispose of it, we donate rather than actually sell.
Okay. We have a
I believe I have that correct, is that?
motion and second for approval of 3919. Any other questions or comments from council members, administration, audience? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is approved. All right, and now we'll move on to ordinances for second reading. And I believe 4019, the first one, is the one that we were referring to earlier about needing to be suspended. This is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to submit an application and execute an agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation for Transportation Improvement District funding, introduced by Councilmember McGee.
Thank you, Madam President. I would first say I'm somewhat embarrassed. The ordinance 2819, which dealt with the engineering services for Stimson Avenue, for some reason I had misread it as this particular ordinance, and this particular ordinance is the one that would authorize the mayor to enter into the agreement with the Transportation Improvement District, and as such, since it has a May 31st deadline, apparently we do need to suspend the rules, so I would move to suspend the rules for passing this ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion and second for suspending the rules, and Councilmember McGee's given the explanation of the May 31st deadline. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The rules have been suspended, Councilmember McGee.
As I stated earlier, this would just authorize the mayor to enter into an agreement to seek funding for that particular project, so I would move for the passing of this particular ordinance.
And I need to back up one step on our motion to suspend, only because Councilmember Katsas had reminded me, and I forgot, that he's going to be abstaining. So we have the motion and second for approving the suspension of the rules. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And abstentions, one. Got it. Now we've got the motion.
So moved.
Okay. And we have now the motion to approve, and we had the second on that one. Did we? Yes, with Councilmember Fall. Good, okay. All right. And we're now voting for approval, but before we vote, any comments or questions from council members or the audience? The mayor. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And abstentions?
Right here. Thank you.
There. Okay. And that motion has been approved, or the motion carries and the ordinance has been approved. Ordinance 4119 is an ordinance establishing a complete streets policy for the city of Athens and is introduced by Councilmember Katsas. And do you have a comment?
Yes, I do.
Add a little
Yes.
explanation.
Thank you, President Nisley. I will say that last week was busy and lots of people were out of town, so I was unable to have the conversations that I would like to on this one. So I'm hoping to do that this week. I know that we were talking about amending it and adding some different wording. So to be continued.
Ordinance 4219 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Athens to enter into an agreement for the establishment of the Outdoor Recreation Council of Appalachia, Council of Governments, introduced by all members of council. And on each of these, I'll pause, and if there are any comments or questions, feel free to raise your hand. Otherwise, I'll just move on to the next title and read that one. Okay. Ordinance 4319 is an ordinance amending the 2019 appropriation ordinance, introduced by Councilmember Reisner. Ordinance 4419 is an ordinance amending the Athens City Code Title 11, Business Regulations, to include Chapter 11.12, Shared Active Transportation, introduced by Councilmember Reisner. Yes, Councilmember McGee.
I had mentioned last week I was quite concerned with the fee that would be charged for the items in this particular case, and I hope the council will consider amending that particular fee to a lesser fee. I'm concerned that we may drive out some prospective businesses.
Okay, Mayor Patterson.
To that end, I crunched some numbers. I meant to do it while that conversation was going on last Monday night. But, with a couple of the e-scooter or e-transportation groups that are operating not only in Columbus, but in other municipalities, I'll use Columbus as an example. For one of those, the fee was $1 a day per scooter. And so if you do the math, $1 times 600 times 365, it's a massive number. It's over $200,000 that is being charged for the e-scooter companies up in the city of Columbus, or it had been when they first started rolling. When you look at the $10,000, if it were the maximum, which is 100 scooters here in the city of Athens for a company, we're talking 27 cents a day is what it's costing. So it pales in comparison to what is being paid by the e-scooter companies in other municipalities when you compare that to the city of Athens. So I would contend that it's not going to scare anybody away at this point in time. It's a very low bar. And we've had conversations with some of the e-scooter companies that have come here, and one of the first ones that we typically ask, aside from do you geofence, do you geo speed control, do you do this, that, and the other thing, is, do you have programs set up to where there is either revenue, cost share or some revenue sharing with the municipality, or fee structures that you're experiencing in other municipalities. So again, I would contend that the $10,000 that you're seeing for deploying up to 100 scooters in the city of Athens is a very small amount, especially for companies that are coming in and not necessarily hiring local, but using the public right-of-way to profit from that. Again, a $10,000 fee, and there were other fees, and I get that within what you saw, but the $10,000 I think was the sticker shock that people were seeing initially. So if you look at that amount to profit from the public right-of-way, and we're talking, technically 192 one-way miles of street in the city of Athens. That's a lot of use at no fee whatsoever if we were to change that. So I would ask council to really think that through. If it's 100 scooters and it's 27 cents to use the public right-of-way, without having to pay any level of impact fee on the city's infrastructure. Now, granted, these things aren't really heavy and they're not like a semi-truck. It's still transit that's taking place on the public right-of-way. So.
Councilmember Katsas?
Yes, and I think Member McGee is correct in his thinking that there is something that's too high, and that has already been pushed. Basically, I can't remember what city it was in North Carolina. They were charging $3 a day, and that's when the scooter company said we can't do it. So that's 27 cents versus $3. We're well under where their break-even point is.
Councilmember McGee.
If I might just ask a question, because since you've had some conversations with the companies, did any of them indicate that they thought $10,000 was a reasonable charge?
That number was not posed to them at that point in time. That number, we just came to that number a week ago, 2 weeks ago, maybe.
Right.
But what had been asked of them is $1 a day per scooter an acceptable cost amount in these conversations with them, and the companies indicated that, well, that is a model that we work with. So, but we're well under that with what you saw, with what council has before you now at $10,000, and someone were to deploy the maximum number of scooters under the legislation as it exists, which is up to 100. It's per day. It's much less than even what the conversations that were had. And in those conversations, just know this, council, that there was no agreements in those. It was informational fact-finding meetings with the scooter companies that were approaching us. And again, I wasn't going to say no to them. I wanted to hear what they had to say. But fees did come up in those early conversations with those who we've met with. And for council to note too, there's a different company that's coming to us probably every other week now, wanting to at least engage with the city and talk with us. So,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. We'll move on to ordinance 4519. And this is an ordinance amending Athens City Code Title I, General Provisions, Chapter 1.03, Code Fees Established, to include fees associated with shared active transportation. Okay. And that being said, we'll move to adjourn.
I move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, we are,
Abstain.
yeah, right. I was going to say no abstentions on this one, I don't think. Okay. We are adjourned at 7:37 p.m. And now we will open the meeting up to our committees. The first one being the Committee of the Whole. And Ruth Dunning from the Athens City County Health Department is here to present on community food initiatives.
Hi.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you so much, President Isley, council members, Mayor Patterson, the Athens community, for allowing us to come and talk a little bit about community food initiatives. We're anxious to provide a little update. The organization has been through some transition over the last year, and to make a request for support if the council feels it's appropriate. The Athens City County Health Department recently produced a community health assessment identifying that a fifth of all residents in Athens County are food insecure, and nearly a third of all children also food insecure. Community food initiatives works to ensure that everyone has access to healthy local foods. And so we're excited also to see that a part of the Athens Sustainability Action Plan is a strong program for food access. And so addressing that or considering some of the points in that Sustainability Action Plan regarding food is an increase in community garden programs, increasing the number of people employed in food production, increasing local economy around agriculture. So I just wanted to report that in addition to investing nearly $11,000 to support the local food system, and that comes through donations that are invested directly back into the Athens Farmers Market, and distributing over 66,000 pounds of local food to individuals in 2018. We redistributed another 11,000 pounds to donated produce from market vendors, ensuring that this food went to feed people and not to compost or waste. This is in direct compliance with EPA's hierarchy for food waste production or reduction. We distribute to 50 food access partners, and the largest of these reaches about 400 individuals weekly. Our garden programs have far-reaching and long-term impact by connecting with an intergenerational audience to promote self-sufficiency. We know that the individuals who are impacted by our garden programs spread the impact to their families and friends, because we've heard parents report about their child influencing grocery buying decisions. So we know that that's an impactful program. And all of our programs contribute to the workforce development as we provide college students and recent graduates with opportunity to give back to their community in a professional capacity. Working with CFI, these individuals not only develop the professional skills that will further strengthen the region, but they learn the critical need for food access in the region as well, and how food access is necessary for a sustainable, thriving food system. And of course, how all of this drives the systems level change that builds community resilience, which I think this city gets pretty well and should be applauded. We have a couple statistics, and I'll leave with you a little overview of our highlights from 2018. But just to give you a brief overlook, we've hosted 22 workshops reaching 215 people, had 35 Discovery Kitchen events, which are cooking events, reaching 393 participants, 42 gardeners at 5 garden sites, with 20,000 square feet of land under production, and that number is growing. We have 105 educational events reaching 921 students, 38 consultation and site visits, 30,000 pounds of seed potatoes were distributed last year, almost 4,000 seed packets, 266 varieties distributed in 10 counties. Yeah Kids is a really interesting, unique program at Hope Drive Apartments where kids get a chance to grow food in the garden, produce a value-added product, and then has sold it at the farmer's market and then gets to keep the money that they earn there. And we're really excited about that program and are looking forward to expanding community gardens, a multi-generational approach in multi-unit housing, as well as with people who have mobility limitations as well that might not be able to get into the garden. So those beds are being planned now and being developed. SEO Food Link. We've had SEO Food Link is a program that helps us provide resources around where food can be accessed around the county, but it also, or in the region actually, but also then provides an opportunity to do some community building and strengthen communities or villages or townships, whatever they may be, to solve food access issues where they live. So it is a food justice initiative that we're really excited about. And we have 103 volunteers we'd like to thank too while we have the platform. So part of our story over the year is that we have been in transition with a director, which if any of you have been in that situation, that puts a strain on an organization. So our beloved Mary Nally was launched from CFI around July of last year. We hired a new director who only was able to stay about 5 months, had some other issues that came up in his life. And so we've been, along with the other board members, pinch hitting for a little bit, but thriving and being successful because of the support that we get in this community. I'd like to introduce to you Mary Ann Martinez. She's the new director who will start a week from now. Actually, she'll start Tuesday of next week. And she comes with a lot of experience with sustainable agriculture. She herself is a farmer. She's done a lot of work with nutrition in schools as well. So there's a new horizon for CFI with a new person. She's very interested, along with that food justice component, in building communities for decision making around food access issues. She would like to rebuild the Food Policy Council here in Athens and really have CFI lead that direction. There are several organizations already working on that platform for food justice. And one of the things she'd like to do, we like to count pounds of food distributed. That is one thing, that's one way we measure our success. And this new director is very interested in measuring nutritional value of the contribution. So not just how much food, but really in comparison of these 50 service agencies that CFI provides food to, what is the nutritional content that is being expanded in these organizations as well. And so what we would humbly like to do before the council is request, if it's appropriate, some support for CFI as we continue to meet food access needs in Athens. We do have an AmeriCorps member that does a lot of work with the donation station. We have one that does quite a bit with community gardens. Both of these things support, again, the sustainability plan for Athens, and that's about $8,000. And so that is our request and our update, and we'd like to welcome any questions that you might have at this time.
Council members, yes. Councilmember McGee.
Thank you, President Nicely. First, I'd like to say I think you have a great organization. I would support it 100%. I just had one question. Is there any effort being done to do community orchards? Because I think that I know some communities are doing this kind of thing, and it's the kind of thing that takes a while to get off the ground to actually get the items produced. So I would certainly recommend that that be done.
I think that's great. And CFI in the past has created a map of all fruit trees and nut trees that are in the community and open to the public. So we have that resource. And it's interesting, we recently did a survey with some multi-unit housing folks about what they would like to do. More container gardening. There was a lot of interest in container gardening, but they also mentioned orchards on site. And so that is something that I think that we would like to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Grace, yes.
Thank you for presenting, and I just want to say that it's not just advertising. Kids do come home and tell their parents about what they tasted. My kids were both very excited to try pumpkin hummus last fall that was provided to them, and I think it's a really fantastic program that works to get fresh local foods to kids who might not otherwise ever experience them, and I know how important it is that the kids are exposed to foods to open up those horizons and increase appreciation of them. So I just want to express my appreciation for the work that CFI does.
Thank you.
Councilmember Reisner.
What resources or help do you do with the Yeah Kids program?
Well, I can tell you that there are community gardens on site there. And so in the past, staff have worked with those children to grow a garden. And they then take the harvest of that garden, and then the kids help decide what they're going to make. They make that product at AceNet, sell it at the farmer's market, and then they get those. So staff are doing all of those steps with them, picking them up, taking them to the farmer's market, to the AceNet kitchen. Looking forward, I think that's been a really exciting opportunity for us, and especially for the kids. And the Hope Drive, the board for the Metropolitan Housing Authority also, it loves that idea. We too would like to get more gardeners in that setting. So we hope to have people who live there teaching children also, in addition, how to prepare those value-added foods, gardening together. So.
Well, in terms of seed, tools, soil amendments,
all of those.
The planters, all that's coming from CFI?
That's coming from CFI.
Okay.
Councilmember Katsas.
Oh, that's also, I should say, no, there's a grant that, so some of that comes from the Metropolitan Housing Authority actually provides some funding for Hope Drive specifically. So they're a wonderful supporter of the programs that happen at Hope Drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Councilmember Katsas.
President Nicely, thank you. And Ruth Dudding, thank you for coming this evening and presenting. At the opening of your presentation, I think you gave two telling numbers that really kind of highlight the issue that we have here, where you said 20% of our population in the county are food insecure, along with 33% of our children. Mm-hmm. Is that number holding? Is there any trend up or down, since you're a little bit more?
That trend is holding or getting worse. That's not improving necessarily. We have a real issue in Athens County in terms of food security. And again, I think what's so important about community food initiatives, because food insecurity is not just quantity of food, it's the value of that food, right? And so community food initiatives is really trying to change those systems that provide food, or support those systems that provide food, to make sure that the food that is provided is the best food possible. And we're really excited, and I think the difficult thing is the way we collectively measure that indicator. You know, are we less insecure? Are we more insecure? That's why I'm really excited about when Marianne comes, and they're working on a grant right now to be able to look to see how we can really measure nutrient density in terms of what CFI actually does bring to the systems that we serve. So I can tell you that we will know more, I think, when we start to do that kind of measuring and data analysis.
two more comments, and then we've got another presentation. And
Right.
so, yes, Councilmember Reisner.
What is the definition of food insecurity?
Well, there's a lot of definitions, but essentially the definition for food insecurity is enough food to maintain good health, to promote and maintain good health. So we can have all the food we want to eat, and if it's not promoting health, that doesn't contribute to food security. So it really is about quality of health.
Thank you. And Mayor Patterson.
I'll be brief. You know, I've always thought CFI has been fantastic. You know, there used to be the gardens up at Carriage Hill. I understand that there were some transitions, and hopefully someday that can come back. I'm really excited about monitoring or evaluating density, nutrient density in what's being given out, as opposed to just, you know, how many pounds are being dispersed. The question I have for you is there anything that you're doing with Ohio University? You know, Ohio University has its own food pantry. I mean, there's food insecurity even on campus, so it's not something that we find just within our own neighborhoods or throughout the county. We're seeing it all over the place, and it's staggering here in Athens County. But is there any edible gardens or anything like that CFI, any ventures with OU that CFI is taking?
Well, of course, we have ComCore members that come from Ohio University, which, again, and that's really why we're here, and our request is about keeping them helping at CFI. So we have a really wonderful ComCore relationship. We do help support, that's one of the organizations that we support in terms of the donation station food to the food pantry. There are workshops that go on. Sierra has done some workshops for students and faculty, both, and community members, anyone on campus. So, we have board members from Ohio University. There's a lot, because they're a part of the community, and we just work with everyone.
Okay. Last comment.
Very, just looking briefly, we know that the southeastern Ohio is one of the poorest regions in the state of Ohio. And a couple of years ago, Ohio ranked third in the country for the highest number of families who are food insecure, with having to skip meals or eat less than they would like to eat at a meal. And so just knowing that Ohio as a state was the third worst in the nation, and we are living in the poorest county of Ohio. The numbers aren't getting better for food insecurity right now.
Yeah. Thank you for being
Thank
here
you so
tonight.
much
The presentation. Thanks for all the supporters of community food initiatives. I know we've got some board members and the ComCore. And I want to commend you on a transition year to be doing new programming, multi-generational. That's great.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, we have another presentation. This will be the Health Impact Assessment, the Richland Passageway Project, and I believe Jolie, and is your last name Broken? Brochin.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. And
Thank you.
I believe Councilmember Grace. You.
Okay, so this is Julie Brochin, and she is a student at the Honors Tutorial College here at Ohio University, and she is studying environmental studies and urban planning.
Yes.
And her semester project this year has been developing a health impact assessment for the proposed Richland Avenue pedestrian passageway project. And when her advisor, Dr. Maroney, reached out to me to ask if council would be interested in hearing about the health impact of this proposed project, I took the liberty of speaking for all of us and enthusiastically said yes. Health impacts the health of our citizens, the health of the community is something that's particularly dear to my heart. And I think that we as City Council, the more we can know about how our projects, the things that we're doing as a city, impact the health of our citizens, the better job we can do. So I was very excited that Julie was willing to undertake this project and present her findings to us. So, Julie, thank you.
So, as she mentioned, a health impact assessment is a process that helps to evaluate the potential health effects of a plan, project, or policy before it's built or implemented. Throughout the semester, I've been working on completing a health assessment of my own over the Richland Avenue pedestrian passageway. I'm here with you all today to share the results of my assessment, make recommendations, and encourage you to think about potential health impacts when moving forward with any new project. The 4 health impacts I decided to focus on for my assessment are physical safety, physical activity, perceived safety, and community cohesion. Even though these are the 4 impacts I chose to focus on, there are several other impacts that could be analyzed, such as air quality and occupational hazards. I began my research with some basic questions. How will the creation of this passageway affect the number of injuries and accidents that occur in this area? How will noise levels change? How will the passageway influence people's decisions to drive, walk, or bike? How will it impact crime rates and feelings of safety? How will people's interactions with one another change? These are just a few of many questions we must ask when considering people's health and safety. Due to the short amount of time I was given to complete this assessment, I don't have a lot of concrete facts and numbers to pinpoint the exact consequences of the construction and the completion of this project. But I analyzed assessments over similar projects and conducted a focus group with about 15 OU students, which has given me valuable insight as to what impacts could result. First, I'm going to talk about physical activity. During the focus group, many students expressed that they choose to walk, drive, or bike to class based on the weather and convenience. If it's raining, they're more likely to drive, but if it's a beautiful sunny day, they will walk or bike. But they also noted that at this area in particular, they try to avoid driving because of the long waits and frustration they experience having to drive through the crosswalk. So if driving is made more convenient in this area, then more people might drive to class, and there could be a decrease in physical activity and overall health. Underclassmen living on West Green, however, will probably not be as impacted by this change because they will most likely walk to class anyways since they live close by, and many of them do not have cars. Either way, right now, all the forms of transportation are frustrating in this area. This brings me now to physical safety. It is no secret that this crosswalk is one of the busiest and most dangerous crosswalks on campus, which is why the project is being set into motion in the first place. Almost every student in the focus group recalled only having bad experiences at this crosswalk. Although there are not a ton of documented accidents at this spot in particular, almost every day there are sightings of accidents coming way too close to almost happening. Several different people in the focus group actually saw bikers get hit by cars and injured on multiple different occasions in this area. With the implementation of this passageway, vehicular-pedestrian conflict is expected to decrease, and accidents and injuries will decrease as well, making it a very positive health impact. That being said, we must consider how the passageway might create conflict elsewhere. Allowing left-hand turns on Bobcat Lane could cause problems, and the changed flow of traffic could create more congestion and increased risk of accidents elsewhere. Also, cars might be more likely to drive faster without the fear of pedestrians, and pedestrians might still cross at undesignated crosswalk areas. Now I'll discuss perceived safety. As I mentioned before, many students expressed feeling unsafe in this area due to how busy it is. So in general, students should feel more safe not having to worry about cars when using the passageway. But there are other safety factors to consider. Dark tunnels make people feel unsafe, and so do different forms of vandalism, such as graffiti. There is a lot of graffiti in what is known as the Art Tunnel by Richland Avenue Roundabout, and several students said that they felt unsafe in this area because of it. So it is important to be aware that students could feel unsafe if the passageway is too dark and if vandalism becomes an issue. The last health impact that I'm going to talk about is community cohesion. Walking to class is when some of the best Bobcat student interactions take place. Not a day goes by when I don't see someone I know walking around campus. But when I asked students how their interactions are at and around the area of Richland Avenue Crosswalk, they said that they never stop to talk to their friends near there because they feel too stressed and unsafe. With the construction of a new passageway, students might be more likely to stop and chat without the fear of oncoming traffic, which would definitely be a positive benefit for our campus and improve people's mental health and feelings of community support. Other things to consider that were mentioned in the focus group are the location of bus stops, bike safety, and time of construction. More details are included in the handout. In conclusion, this project is expected to have more positive health impacts than negative ones, and myself and the students from the focus group feel that it is a great idea. But to ensure that this project has the best outcomes possible, I would like to recommend the following. Incorporate plenty of lighting and put blue emergency lights nearby for safety. Maintain the area and include green space and seating areas to foster social interaction. Complete as much of the project as possible during the summer to avoid disrupting students living in the dorms nearby. Prevent students from crossing the road and other areas outside of the passageway to reduce the risk of death and injuries. And finally, implement strategies to reduce vehicle speed on the overpass to prevent accidents. With these ideas in mind, I hope you will consider conducting a health impact assessment for all of the projects to come, because there's nothing more important than our health and our safety. So at this time, I welcome any questions you have.
Councilmember McGee, yes.
I would thank you. As you may know, I've been quite concerned about the health and safety of students crossing at this particular intersection. But however, I've been highly skeptical of this project itself, and I just wondered, in your consideration of the current situation, have you come up with, since this tunnel or thing is not going to be built for a year yet, have you come up with any thoughts as to how things could be improved at the current time, knowing, of course, that the university is going to be out, about a week? Have you even, do you have any thoughts for us that we could be considering?
I haven't thought a lot about that, but perhaps they could put in more speed bumps or signs, or just create other safety measures, maybe more traffic lights, to keep students safer in the area.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilmember Crowell.
A couple questions for you. I had a faculty member approach me recently, and in his opinion, the crosswalk right now is not as well lit as it could be. And my first reaction was that there are lights up and down Richland Avenue in that area, but I did go was passing through it in the evening, and I pulled over in the bus pullout and sort of looked, and there are lots of lights in the area, but they don't necessarily illuminate that crosswalk all that well. I wonder if you noticed that as well?
Yeah, I don't use that crosswalk a lot because I'm not near West Green, but in general, I think, yeah, a lot of the crosswalks are pretty poorly lit.
So, and a second question for you about your recommendation for the blue emergency lights. Do you have any data that students use those, or do you just feel that it provides a sense of safety because people feel good knowing that they're there?
I think it provides more of a sense of safety, because if your phone is dead or you can't immediately call 911 if there's an emergency, at least you know that the blue light is nearby, and people are less likely to commit crimes if that's there because they know that somebody could immediately be contacted.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councilmember Butler.
Thank you. I just wanted to say briefly thank you for your presentation. And one of the recommendations that I hadn't thought about or considered is the reality that students are living in dormitories nearby, and that their quality of life could be impacted by the building process of this project. I hadn't even considered. I mean, generally speaking, the city tries to tackle these kind of projects in the summer anyways, but I hadn't thought about that aspect of this, so thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Okay, yes, Councilmember Reisner.
I read recently that Ohio University is going to be installing security cameras in all the dorms. I'm wondering, and I noticed you didn't mention anything about that in your report, would that be something that should be considered, you think?
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that new initiative, but I think, would the security cameras just be within the hallways or outside of the dorms?
I have no idea. I don't know.
I think it could be a good idea if they were placed kind of like around the outside of the dorms. I know last year I lived on like the back of South Green, and it was always very dark in that area and like poorly lit right by the building, so I would have felt a lot safer if there were security cameras there.
And for the tunnel itself, like cameras on both sides and pointing inward and outward.
Yep, I think that would be good.
Of course, a camera doesn't do any good unless a perpetrator would know that they're actually being viewed.
Yeah,
So
in
you have
that
to make
case,
it like, hi, there's a camera here, we're watching you.
yeah. In that case, I think that's kind of where the lighting comes in to just make people feel more safe in general. Perhaps you could have lights kind of like from the ground as well as like the sides of the tunnel and just around the sidewalk area nearby. I think that would make people feel safe.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, this project has been, as you might know, on our committee agenda many times, so it's appropriate and also helpful for you to come before us tonight. So thank you for the comments.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for being here. All right, we'll move on to the Transportation Committee. Street closing for the OU Involvement Fair. And so Transportation Committee members, Peter Kostas, Patrick McGee, and Sam Crowell.
Okay, thank you. And I'll apologize up front because usually I like to check in with the people that are doing the presentation, but I had so many ordinances this evening that I was kind of freaking out about that I failed to do this. But I believe that we have a Mackenzie Oakler in the, yes, okay, great.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for letting me come and share my proposal. I'm Mackenzie Olaker. I work with the Campus Involvement Center at Ohio University, and my proposal is to close Union Street on August 25th between College Street and Court Street from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And this is to compensate for to expand the Student Involvement Fair and also add it as a community involvement fair as well in some of this expansion. So currently, we have over 530 student organizations at Ohio University, and just 5 years ago we only had 300. College Green compensates about 280 tables, so we have grown. It can only hold 52% of our student orgs if they were all to participate, and so we're looking at how we can expand this kind of time-honored tradition while also keeping it on College Green. I'm not sure if you all know, but they leave the President's Convocation. It's the only time that the first-year students are together within their entire college experience. They march down Richland Avenue, and then they enter into the college gate onto College Green, led by the band, who then plays a show, and then they get to meet all of the student organizations and learn about how to get involved. So we're looking to utilize Howard Park as well as that closed part of the street to put out more tables. I think we can get about 70 to 80 more tables on that space in Howard Park. And then we've also been working with Paul Logue a little bit so that we can connect with some more community organizations to allow them to also participate in the fair so that students can learn about early on how to get involved with the Athens community. So we're really excited about this initiative, and we hope that we can expand this and make it more of a collaborative event with the community. So, yeah.
Okay, and then just real quickly, the closure is on a Sunday, and this is move-in weekend with the university. But it sounds like
that, yeah. So they're all moved in by Saturday, and so from what we've talked with Paul, it shouldn't affect too much because they'll still be able to turn off Union if they were coming up and go down Court, like if they were by Wits. They could still make that turn. And Richland will already be closed anyways, or that part of Court Street. So it's already closed. It would just kind of be more like an L shape at that moment that would be closed. So College Street would still be open on like the further part by Howard Park, if that makes sense.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. Yes, please.
Would it make sense to extend your closure a little bit further to the, as Jeff Hill comes up to that point in time?
Yeah, I mean, we would be, willing to have as much space as we could. Paul had suggested, though, leaving that open so that people could go still down Terrace I think it's Terrace Road, and then also Jeff Hill, so that would still be like a traffic kind of movement. But there's really no way on Terrace you can turn off, I think, to get to South Green, but we would be more than happy to have that full amount of space, but.
Yes, Member Crowell.
And thank you, Member Katsas. In your space considerations, have you thought about the food vendors that park along Union?
We have not. That is actually not a consideration I've thought about. Last year it was Rich, I believe, who works with Kona Ice, was the only truck that was there during the involvement fair. But I definitely don't want to impact their business. That's a really great point. I would be more than happy to keep some allocated space for them if that was allowed.
So they have their spaces that they rent, and so they would have them regardless of you, but just to think about them in your planning. So
oh yes, that's a great point, and I should have thought about that. But yeah, I would be, what we're trying to do is expand it to the community here, and so I would not want to impact that in any ways.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. And I would like to mention that I did also have, just in passing, some conversations with administration, and they didn't seem to see any issue with this either. They think this is a good thing to have happen on that date. All right?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And can you do us one favor and sign in, just so we have the correct spelling of your name for our minutes? Thank you. All right.
All right, and with that, I am done with
Okay.
Transportation
City
Committee.
and Safety Services, Councilmember Butler, and Fall and Grace.
Thank you, President Nice. I just need a minute to pull up some notes from a conversation I had earlier today with City Service Safety Director Andy Stone. So there are two items on our agenda this evening. The first is the EPW equipment disposal. And in my conversation with Mr. Stone, he acknowledged that they do have some items that are worth over $1,000 each, which would require or necessitate our involvement on council to permit auction, sealed bid, or to give to another government agency or for scrap. I don't have in front of me a list of those items as of yet, and or how many of them there are. Typically, in the past, there'll be bigger items such as vehicles or equipment that is worth more than $1,000.
I believe one of those is a very old and well-driven dump truck, one of our engineering and public works vehicles.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we can provide and gather more information. I'm not sure if the clerk has anything regarding this as well. Thank you. Oh boy, I didn't bring my glasses.
You want me to hold it for you?
Maybe, yeah. You said the orange
Orange, on the top. Just on the top. Top right.
survey equipment,
Yes.
no longer needed, replaced with newer model Kubota zero-turn mowers to be replaced. Gravely's, let's see, a two-wheel tractor. So we can clarify this in a more itemized manner, but so we have some basic equipment. 1990 truck, which is continuing to break down on frequent use, unsafe to operate.
It's well-driven.
Yeah.
How many miles?
The note here from Bob Hetty, I believe, is that the repairs will cost more than the value of the vehicle. So it's likely to be considered worthwhile to address this. So that addresses the first. Are there any questions or comments regarding equipment disposal? Thank you. Moving on to the next item on our agenda this evening is internet auction. And again, this is some information I have from Andy Stone, City Service Safety Director. Just need to pull up my notes. The conversation with this is the city administration is starting to look at online auction similar to eBay, which would be more specific to governments as a way or measure to, as a way to sell items that are unique in value that we might not be able to sell locally. So perhaps it would be a certain type of pump that might be needed by an old municipal pool that we no longer have a need for, or they're no longer making, but some other community might have a desire for that. So this would be permission to begin to work at or start looking at connecting with various online auction sites that would help us sell these specific items that are kind of unique and challenging to sell at a local level. Any other thoughts on that, Mayor?
No, but I think you summed it up rather well. Just to mention to anyone watching tonight, and certainly to City Council, you may be aware that for our, now that we've renovated or almost completing the renovation of the water treatment plant, for a long time, the plant operator, Sean Beasley, was, and before that, Crystal Kennard, was literally going online and finding parts for our electrical equipment down at the water treatment plant, because that plant was, you know, plant 1 was built in the late 1950s, and plant 2 late 1960s, and so the technology inside there was old. It was hard to find parts, but that's what we were doing. And so, you know, if we were disposing, and we're not. I think maybe those parts are going somewhere else, but that would be a great example that we're decommissioning this type of equipment, and if anybody out there is still using equipment such as this, that we could put it out online, and that would be a very unique situation for some of that equipment.
Thank you, Mayor. I think it's also fiscally prudent for us. It makes much more sense than obviously throwing something into a landfill, especially if it can be repurposed and serve a second life somewhere else. Thank you. Any questions or comments? If not, then that concludes this committee. Thank you, President Isley.
Thanks. All right. And that concludes our meeting at 8:19. Next Monday night is the 5th Monday, and so there will not be a council meeting. So the next time we meet is May 6th. Thank you.